Hey, it's Ben Wise from ZOAR Fitness, and this is the name game. Workout number 52 is the final countdown. For time with a 15-minute time cap, we have 10, 9, 8, all the way down to 1 deadlift at 275 pounds for males and 175 pounds for females. And after each one of those sets, so after the set of 10, after the set of 9, all the way down to after the set of 1, you're gonna be performing 3 ring muscle ups. If you can't do ring muscle ups, because I know a lot of people who do these don't have their muscle ups yet, or still working on them, or they're not consistent yet, you can sub 3 chest to bar plus 3 strict ring dips for the 3 ring muscle ups. All right, so let's get into standards. The first is the deadlift. It starts from the floor and you gotta stand it up to your hip. The big thing here is that you gotta get your shoulders back behind the plane of the bar, so wherever your hands are, your shoulders have to be behind that. And then when you lower it each time, you can't bounce it off the floor really aggressively where you have that arm bend happen a lot. And it's a really aggressive bounce where you're punching it into the floor. For the ring muscle up, you have to start with perfectly straight arms each time. So even if you're using a false grip and doing a kipping or a strict version of it, because that's what's the most efficient for you at this moment, that means you still have to make sure that arm gets all the way straight. A lot of people who use a false grip, they keep that elbow just kind of closed off like a little bit like this. Rather than getting it all the way straight, you have to make sure that that elbow is in a full hang at the initiation of each rep. And then the other big thing with the ring muscle up is that you have to make sure as you're locking out your dip that it is in line with the straps. So the straps are vertical. You have to make sure that your arm is in line with that. You're not pushing back away and you're letting yourself fall that way. That's usually the way people cheat it. They usually don't cheat it going forward because you'd be falling through the rings. But make sure you're locking out over top of the rings before you descend into your next rep, and that's in line with the straps. And then for setup, we have a 8-foot marker, just as we did last week, from the apparatus where we're doing our gymnastics movements to our barbell. So again, underneath your rings, tape a line. 8 feet from that line is where your barbell has to stay past that 8-foot marker. So it needs to be 8 feet, at least 8 feet between your barbell and where your rings are placed on the floor. Again, that's just for safety and because we're having designated floor plans. For strategy, 3 tips. The first is that your ring muscle up proficiency is going to determine your deadlift density. I know that was a mouthful, let me repeat it again. Your ring muscle up proficiency determines your deadlift density. So in other words, how good you are at doing ring muscle ups consistently when you're under fatigue is gonna determine or kind of decide for you how fast you should be going on your deadlifts. So in other words, if you're someone who is very good at ring muscle ups and they're very fatigue resistant and you're never going to really probably miss a rep or they're never gonna really fall apart even when you're pretty tired, then you can probably do big unbroken sets of deadlifts and maybe go unbroken the entire way through the ladder and really just try to manage your fatigue the best you can and try to breathe during your transition time and stay unbroken the entire time because you're really proficient at those ring muscle ups. If you're someone who's not as proficient at the ring muscle ups, then you just need to make sure that you are being smart about the sets of deadlifts that you're taking. It's not about what you can do, it's about what will allow you to get your best time, right? We're optimizing to get the best score that we can. So we need to think, okay, I need to minimize the amount of breakdown or maybe the amount of misses that I have, if that's gonna happen for you when you're tired, to make sure that, again, I'm getting the best score I can because I'm not, having this really tail off in a negative way towards the back half of this workout. Because again, if we need to think about, the other thing we need to think about here is that the ring muscle ups are gonna become more and more a part of this workout in the tail end of this workout. So like, you're only doing 4 deadlifts and you're doing 3 ring muscle ups. You're only doing 3 deadlifts and you're right back to 3 ring muscle ups. You're only doing 2 deadlifts and then you're only doing 1 deadlift. And after each of those, you have ring muscle ups. So yes, the first like 8, 10, 9, 8, 7, it's a lot about the deadlift. But as you get deep into the workout, where you're gonna also be the most tired, all of a sudden the density of the ring muscle ups goes way up. So you need to be, if you're someone who plans to go more unbroken or close to unbroken in the deadlifts, then you need to make sure that you have the capacity to be able to handle that density as it gets turned up in the second half of the workout. So that's why I worded that tip that way. Tip number 2 is to manage your blood pressure and your heart rate. Of course, this is a game that you play in every single workout. I understand that. However, I think it's especially important in this workout because these are both very high tension and high power output movements. There's not going to be a real limitation in terms of like mobility in terms of a deadlift, right? Your positions probably aren't going to break down a whole lot. And if they do, that means you're really probably pretty blown up, so to speak, in the workout. So you need to do the best that you can, again, to kind of keep those undulations in your blood pressure and your breathing and your heart rate as minimal as possible, where your fatigue and heart rate and blood pressure are kind of going like this, where it's, you know, a little bit, they're undulating, but they're continuing to kind of go up in a linear fashion versus these big spikes and valleys. Make sure you're trying to manage that the best that you can so it's consistent. And again, the best way to do that is smaller sets and then followed by smaller rests. Tip number 3 is thinking about your halfway checkpoint. The halfway checkpoint for the deadlift specifically, in terms of volume that you're doing, is after the round of 8. So think about how early that is in the workout. Obviously, that's not talking about the ring muscle ups because that's linear through all of those, right? It's 30 total ring muscle ups because it's 10 sets and that's linear, right? So it's gonna stay the same throughout. However, the deadlifts, as I said, the density starts really high and degrades pretty quickly. So you have 27, I believe, deadlifts in the rounds of 10, 9, and 8. And already as you drop that, get through that last rep on the round of 8, you're already over halfway done with the deadlifts. And then you have 7 all the way down to 1. So it seems very skewed in that way, and it is. And again, that's just something that you need to pay attention to because again, the density for the ring muscle ups is really gonna come in the second half of this workout. And that, for a lot of people, is gonna be a bigger bottleneck than the deadlifts. So overall, those are my big highlights of what I would recommend someone attacking this workout for. If you're someone who's watching this on YouTube and you're not signed up for the protocol yet, you can get a 7-day free trial. Go to zoarfitness.com/pro-trial. Check it out, see if you like it. And for everybody else, best of luck on the final countdown.